So one of the best combat tricks I've figured out in Resonance of Plague Tale Legacy lets you interrupt enemy attack combos so you can sneak in a powerful critical strike. See, every time an enemy swings their weapon, there's a small opening between their current swing and their next swing where they're vulnerable. And if you hit them with a regular attack in that window, you'll interrupt them for a moment, which gives you a chance to do a critical strike. So what you want to do is just block or parry like normal, and then right after the enemy's weapon connects with yours, do a regular attack by tapping the attack button, and then go straight into holding the attack button for a critical strike. You'll do one chunk of damage with the regular hit as you interrupt them, and then much more with the critical strike. And for many weaker enemies, you can actually optimize this even further by doing a second regular attack before doing the critical strike. By the way, my controls look different here with attack on the R1 bumper in this clip because I'm using my custom remapping, which I think a lot of people will like better than the defaults, so I'll run you through that in a minute, but first I want to show you my other favorite combat trick. Anytime you're in a big group, you can just repeatedly grapple enemies to apply lots of stun damage to the whole group. The enemy you yoink with the grapple will of course get a lot of stun damage buildup, but anyone he hits as you pull him in will also be affected. So when enemies are bunched up around you, this is a great crowd control method, especially because you enter a slow motion state while swinging the grapple, giving you a bit of a breather while you select your target, and because enemies stay stunned for about 7 seconds once you trigger it. So stunning a bunch of them definitely puts you in control. To use this tactic optimally, you want to try to aim for enemies at the back of the group so they stumble into as many of their friends as possible when you pull them forward. And by the way, even when you're not dealing with a big group, strategically leaving an enemy stunned so you can focus on another is definitely an effective tactic. But if you like to play more defensively, one of the safest and most effective ways to take down enemies quickly and easily, especially in big groups, is by using what I call echo blocking. It's just a combo of the basic block and effective use of the Echo's Return skill, which lets you whip enemies around to hit each other, interrupting other enemies' attacks, and, more importantly, dealing stun damage to everyone nearby. Basically, to echo block, all you do is default to holding block all the time. And then, while an enemy is attacking you, dodge left or right to try and trigger Echo's Return as often as possible. Don't let go of block when you dodge, just keep holding it all the time. And moving left or right of the enemy is key to trigger Echo's Return. Every time you do one, the enemy and anyone they hit will get some stun damage buildup. And once enemies are fully stunned, they stay that way for about 7 seconds. So this tactic lets you play very safely and creates easy openings for you to deal damage. Plus, you'll be building up focus while you do this as well. So if you really want to play it safe, you can just wait until you have a focus attack ready and use those as your primary way of dealing damage. You're invincible while using the focus attack, which is good to know regardless of your playstyle. I play pretty aggressively, and I played on Nightmare difficulty where the enemies are much more aggressive and you only get 2 health chunks. So I like to leave my focus attacks to use as a panic button if I'm getting swarmed, and if I've already partially damaged at least one of those enemies, there's a good chance I'll get a heal as well. Unlike focus attacks, you can get damaged while charging and even landing a critical strike though, so be mindful of that if you like to use them a lot like me, although you can't be damaged while getting a kill with a critical strike. In fact, the other enemies around you will pause for a moment while you're getting the kill. So that's another reason that very first tactic I gave you can be so good. Knocking down an enemy's health a bit with a regular attack or two basically guarantees a kill when you go for the critical strike on most enemies. So even though it is aggressive, there's a safety feature built in. We'll cover more combat tips in a minute, but I also wanted to make sure you know that there is actually a way you can go back to get blades and charms you might have missed before you finish the game. There are 30 charms total in the game and 8 blades, 9 if you pre-ordered or bought the Heritage Pack DLC. And Alex Pendant you see here in the charms menu is also a pre-order bonus in case you see footage of that. Blades each have a unique perk. For example, the Khopesh has a bleed effect that lets you apply damage over time to an enemy. Or one of my favorites, the Sika, fills the focus gauge a lot when you get a kill. Each category of charms has a unique perk as well, like armbands which give you a chance for an increased parry window, bracelets which have a chance to boost critical strike damage, and trinkets which give you a chance to not die when taking a lethal hit. You should also know that as you gather more charms in the same category, the chance for that category's effect to happen increases. With just one charm, you only have a slight chance, but it will go all the way up to a significant chance with 5. It's tricky to test exactly what percentage change these levels mean, but my best estimate from testing is that it caps out at roughly 30% for significant chance. The blades are always found in tombs, and all the charms are found in these little treasure boxes, except for the 5 Pierce coins. Those come from Theseus echoes, which are these raised basins you need to find and interact with. But if you miss any of this stuff, you can't just turn around during a level and go back through to explore more and find it, but you can actually replay levels before you finish the game to grab something you missed, and it will carry forward to your current chapter. So, if you've noticed you missed something, first, finish out the current chapter you're on to make sure your progress gets saved. Not just the current section of the chapter, finish the whole chapter. Then, go back to the main menu and use the chapter selection to scroll through previous chapters and check down here in the bottom right to see which chapter contains the missing item. The list will show blades, charms, and artifacts. It won't tell you which section of the chapter the item is in, but you can at least narrow down the chapter. I am working on a video where I give you the exact locations for all the blades and charms. But regardless, I highly recommend you take stock of your blades and charms as soon as you start chapter 10 to see if you're missing anything you want to go back and search for. Just after the start of chapter 10 is when combat encounters start getting more intense. So that's a good time to pause and go back to get stuff if you want it to actually benefit you for the endgame. The other things you definitely need to know how to manage properly are the little resonance point shells. I'm sure you found some of these already, but you need a lot of them because the cost to unlock skills actually increases by 5 points every time you unlock one. So the first skill costs 5 points, then the second is 10, the third is 15, then 20, 25, and 30 for the last one. So to unlock all 6, you need a total of 105 points. But then you've got the masteries for each skill as well. Fortunately, those don't increase in cost. They always just cost 10. And when you unlock one for a skill, it actually unlocks them both. So to unlock every skill and mastery, you need to get a grand total of 165 points. There are 200 resonance points in the game, so you can do it in a single playthrough, but you almost certainly won't unless you spend a lot of time searching for them, which means you're almost certainly not going to be able to have all the skills and masteries active during the final stages of the game. So here's how I'd suggest you prioritize your skill unlocks. Echo's Return and Heroic Surge, the top two, are definitely the ones I would get first. Go for Echo's Return if you play more defensively, or Heroic Surge if you play more offensively, particularly if you use critical strikes a lot. When you get a kill with a critical strike, Heroic Surge generates spectral armor around Sophia that absorbs the next hit. You'll also notice this little shield icon down by the health bar as a secondary indicator for when it's active. But regardless of your playstyle, I think you'll want both Heroic Surge and Echo's Return pretty quick. Next, you can go for either Bullbreaker Kick or Aegean Deflect. I personally prioritize Aegean Deflect a little higher because I like to parry a lot, but also because one of its masteries will let you parry red attacks, which I find super helpful for spearmen. In most games, I get most annoyed with the archers, but in Resonance, it's the spearmen. Archers you can actually deal with pretty easily. Just do a quick grapple on them and run up and take them out fast. Spearmen, on the other hand, have a really long reach, use red attacks a lot, can't be kicked very easily to build up stun damage, can't be grappled, and they can even poke you through other enemies when you can't really see the spearman himself. Super annoying, but being able to parry their red attacks with that Aegean Deflect mastery helps a lot. Bullbreaker Kick is definitely nice to have to build up stun faster, but I prioritize it a bit lower because the regular kick is already pretty strong. Just keep in mind to use Bullbreaker, you need to pause for a moment between taps of the kick button. You can't just double tap it. You need to tap, pause, and then tap again. I watch for when Sophia's leg is fully extended from the first kick. That's the earliest moment you can tap again to trigger Bullbreaker. Oh, and keep in mind you can't trigger Bullbreaker at all by starting from a sprint. Kicking while sprinting restricts you to just a jumping version of the regular kick. And by the way, definitely look for opportunities to kick enemies off ledges. It's super fun and makes for very easy kills. And yes, they do count just like any other kill and will heal you. But up next for skills, I honestly feel the bottom two, Fated Cast and Hero's Step, aren't as useful as the other four. They're definitely nice to have, but you could also go through the whole game without really needing them. I would prioritize masteries for Aegean Deflect, Heroic Surge, and Bullbreaker Kick before unlocking those bottom two skills. That Aegean Deflect mastery that lets you parry red attacks is very useful, as are either of the masteries for Heroic Surge. One blocks a hit while charging critical strikes, and the other boosts the damage of your critical strikes. For Bullbreaker Kick, I would definitely go for the Circle mastery, which increases stun damage of the kick. You can go for mastery on Echo's Return too if you want. Personally, I think the Diamond mastery is clearly the better option there. It lets you do Echo's Return on yellow attacks. But once you have masteries for Aegean Deflect, Heroic Surge, and Bullbreaker Kick, that's when I would start unlocking the Heroic Step and Fated Cast skills. Here's where I ended up with about 150 points on my playthrough. All the skills unlocked and masteries for everything except Echo's Return and Hero Step. If you end up with fewer points, then Fated Cast is what I give up first. And remember, you can reset and redistribute your points anytime. Okay, let me show you my custom controls mapping, and then we'll check out some important exploration tips. Instead of holding R2 to sprint, I switched that to clicking the left stick, but by default you'll have to hold the stick down. So to fix that, go over to the accessibility tab and scroll all the way to the bottom where you'll find the sprint setting, which you can toggle to press instead of hold. Crouch/dodge and jump/climb I leave alone. Look at/interact I put on triangle. That'd be Y on an Xbox controller or X on a Switch if they ever bring it to Switch. The grapple I put on square, and attack I put on R1. That's one of the major things I'm after here with this custom remapping. Block/parry stays on circle, but then kick I sort of think of as a heavy attack, so I put that on R2. And that just leaves the sphere, which I put on L2, and we're good to go. The only downside to this is that you have to take your thumb off the right stick to hit the grapple button now, which means you have to be mindful of lining up the camera with the enemy you want to target before using the grapple in combat. I don't find this to be a big deal, but if it bothers you, a small change you can make is putting the grapple on D-pad up instead and putting hint on square. But let's talk exploration tips as well as a few bonus combat tips. You can actually find some important stuff under breakable crates and pots. It's rare, but there are a few important puzzle elements and even a charm treasure chest hidden under stuff like this. So I wouldn't go crazy breaking every one you see because it's truly just a handful throughout the whole game to have anything under them. But just keep that in mind in case you get stuck on a puzzle or can't find a charm. You can also slide through a lot of low openings by hitting crouch while sprinting, which definitely makes for faster and more stylish exploration. When you die, the little resonance point shells will respawn in the area and you need to collect them again. So it's very easy to end up with way fewer resonance points than you should have if you forget to recollect them after dying. My rule of thumb is to search the area for resonance points after combat instead of before. Just make sure you search around before going through a doorway or a gap that you can't go back through, which is the case for many of them. When big brute enemies swing red attacks, there is just enough time to jab them with a regular attack between many of their combo moves. You've got to be quick to do it, but this can be helpful not just for the brutes, but for some bosses as well. Sophia's regular attack has a 3-hit combo, and the last hit of that combo is important for certain effects and bonuses. For example, the Khopesh Blade's bleed effect only triggers on that final hit, and the Kopis Blade only deals extra stun damage on the last hit. When playing the sections as Theseus, remember that your blades, charms, and skills don't carry over. Theseus has his own limited set of abilities, which you can review by opening up the menu. Now, these next two tips are gonna sound kind of weird because I don't want to majorly spoil you. You'll totally get this once you get far enough along, but for now, just try to remember these tips. First, you'll notice right away when you discover this blue glowing dust that it leaves footprints behind when you run or sprint on it. It won't leave footprints if you walk slowly or crouch, but the blue dust will still flow off Sophia's body. So here's the thing to remember for later. Even though it's going to seem like a bad idea, there will be times where it's effective to crouch and just walk in a straight line. Don't get up, and don't run, and don't turn, just crouch and walk in a straight line. I know that sounds weird, but I really don't want to spoil you, and I promise it will make sense later. The second thing is that you're gonna have to deal with a thing that breathes, and it breathes in 2 stages. So the tip to remember is, during the first breathing stage, you're safe, even if it really seems like you're not. Again, I know that sounds weird, but you'll get it as soon as you get far enough in the game. Now, if you want to make sure you get all the blades and charms before the end game, I'll put that video right here for you as soon as it's ready. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there in just a second.